السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. maanta ay taariikhdu tahay 27 bisha labaad ayaa waxa ka dhacay wasaaradda arrimaha dibadda wasiirka RW Solheim ayaa wuxuu la kulmay Prime Ministerka ummadda Soomaaliyeed ay waxay ku kulmeen wasaaradda arrimaha dibadda waxayna ka wada hadleen barnaamijyo fara badan oo kamid tahay in arrimaha Soomaaliya hadda ay marayso xaaladda ay marayso wasaaradda arrimaha dibadda kulankii ka dhacay waxa ka soo qayb galay suxufiyiin fara badan ayaa ka soo qayb galay haddana waxaan rajaynaynaa inaan nala daawataan su'aalihii la weydiiyay oo la isdhaafsaday wasiirka arrimaha dibadda u qaabilsan RW Solheim iyo Abdiweli Prime Ministerka Soomaaliya.
Let me introduce the Prime Minister of Somalia, the transitional government of Somalia. We are both just back from the London conference, the London Solidarity Conference for Somalia, which took place
last week. I will leave the floor to you very soon, but let me just make a few initial comments. Of course, Norway fully support the transitional government of Somalia, and we also fully support the outcome of the London conference. This conference in quite a lot of detail put forward the way forward for Somalia, which is of course a full support from the international community to a Somali-led process. Everyone understands that the international community needs to be humble. Somalia is from one perspective a relatively small country, both geographically and as well as population-wise. From another perspective, it's a superpower. It's a superpower when it comes to its complexity. It's a very complex society, so the international community should be humble and should support you. What was agreed in the conference was to provide political support for the process, the so-called RW process, towards a constituent assembly and a new broad-based government, and full support to the transitional government in reaching out to really bringing all aspects of all the elements of Somalia into one big tent. Adding to that, it was agreed to provide financial support. The United Kingdom established a so-called stability fund where Norway will contribute. The idea of that is to provide immediate financing to those areas of Somalia which is coming under democratic, stable control. Adding to all that, in the same process, of course, the Security Council agreed for the establishment of a broader African Union-led force in Somalia, where Kenya will join Uganda and Burundi in one joint force. This force is today controlling Mogadishu, but hopefully it will also be able to control a larger part of Somalia.
The city of Oslo, and in this beautiful country of Norway. I'm very pleased and honored to come to Norway and to discuss the government of Norway on bilateral relations and issues that are of mutual interest to both countries. Somalia is very grateful for the unwavering support from Norway to the people of Somalia, particularly in their time of need. Somalia is emerging from a long and very difficult period, 20 years of civil war, lawlessness, poverty, and insecurity. Today, I provided an update of the huge progress made in the area of security, political reconciliation, constitution-making process, and the development of good governance institutions. This is an excellent time to meet with the government of Norway officials after the London conference, which requires from all of us to work hard for the next few months with a view to bringing peace and stability to Somalia. And that was what the London conference was all about. Today, also we had a very fruitful and frank discussions on many issues that are of mutual interest to both countries. I'm encouraged by the enthusiasm, the energy, and the willingness and the interest shown to me and my country, and I'm hopeful that Somalia will reclaim its role in the international landscape and play a more active role in the near future. We are working for a Somalia that's at peace with itself, at peace with its neighbors, where its citizens can go about their daily life is in safety and provide for their families with confidence and dignity. Instability, violent extremism, and crime in Somalia are a threat not only just to Somalia, but to the region and the world at large. We are now, Somalia is moving from an era of lawlessness, chaos, warlordism, religious extremism, to an era of peace and stability. We look to the future with hope, pride, and optimism. And with your help and support, we will reach there. We would also like to, the Norway, we thank them for giving safety and succor to thousands of Somalis who came here as refugees. And hopefully they have some issues regarding also their legal status, some of them, and hopefully you will help them gain status in your country, and hopefully they will become good citizens of their adopted country and good ambassadors of Somalia in Norway. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Let me just tell you that, yes, indeed, the Somalis are becoming good citizens of Norway. In both the classes of my children, there are a good number of Somalis, sure, and they are doing well, and sometimes better than my children at school. Sure. And just 2 weeks back, I was with my daughter, 6-year-old, in a birthday party with one of our Somali girlfriends or friends. So it's a lot happening in this building human relations between Norway and Somalia. Absolutely. But please, Ragnar, will you?
So if there's any questions?
There's a lot.
Okay. First, Dagestan, if you can introduce yourself in English first, please.
I am Kenneth Lund from Dagestan. I have a question about the problem with piracy. I know you support military intervention against Al-Qaeda bases. How do you look at military intervention against piracy bases? And also, can you give us an update about the whole situation with piracy?
Okay. Do I support military intervention against piracy? It's already taking place. We have a huge naval presence off the coast of Somalia, and that presence reduced the incidence of piracy, at least this year, in 2011. But we believe that the solution of piracy doesn't lie on sea. The solution of piracy is to address it inland. We have to address the root causes of piracy. If we want to really solve this issue, this menace, in the long term, the causes of piracy are lawlessness and poverty. Lawlessness in Somalia, where we don't have the judicial system that will allow us to address the issue. So we need to build the security institutions in Somalia, the law enforcement institutions in Somalia, such as the court systems, the police, the Somali Coast Guard, and other law enforcement institutions, so that we will be able as Somalis to deal with it before it gets out of hand. On the other hand, we have to also address the underlying cause also, which is poverty. These kids, the young kids, the opportunity cost of going them to the high seas is very minimal. They have nothing to lose and everything to gain. But for every successful attempt, hundreds lose their lives in the process. We have over 1,200 Somalis now in prison all over the world. So we have to invest in them. We have to help the coastal communities develop their economy. We have to create an alternative livelihood for these kids. Schools, hospitals, water and sanitation in these communities. So they should have an alternative livelihood than taking their luck to the high seas.
If I may just add to that, I think one of the very positive aspects of the London conference, that was no one dreaming up miracles, no one believing that there are some huge problems of Somalia. I mean, all the main negatives like famine, piracy, lack of development or terrorism all these can only in the long term be resolved, as the Prime Minister says, on land in Somalia with the establishment of security and some functioning state in Somalia.
Absolutely.
That is, and it will take time, but there are positives now which are signals that we are moving in that direction. But there is no way of separately resolving the piracy or the famine or the terrorism problem.
Absolutely.
Yes, then Anna.
Yes, I'm from NRK, the Norwegian broadcaster. My name is Mariette Jansen.
The biggest Norwegian.
To get development in your country, you will need peace between Somalis. So you need dialogue with tribes, clans, and also Al-Shabaab. And what is the status on this?
Yeah, thank you. Very good question and very relevant. We have a framework of peace and stability. That framework is called the roadmap. One of the biggest pillars of that roadmap is reconciliation and political outreach. Reconciliation to all Somalis, to the regional states, to any other political entity that has a stake in peace and stability in Somalia. As far as Shabaab is concerned, although now there is no more Shabaab because they now say they are part and parcel of Al-Qaeda. They changed the name recently and they opted to join the ranks of Al-Qaeda. Now so they call Al-Qaeda in Somalia. But Al-Shabaab as an indigenous Somali organization, we believe that we Somalis cannot reach peace through violence. Violence breeds violence. Violence begets violence. So no country in the world can reach peace through violence. But at the same time, we have to make sure that elements of Al-Qaeda in Somalia will not reach their political ends through violence. We cannot accept that. So on one hand, we have to show them a credible force that no entity or no organization should reach their political end through violence. That's unacceptable. But on the other hand, as Somalis, we will try to reach to them, those who renounce violence, those who want to reconcile with us, those who have a Somali agenda, not a foreign agenda, those who have Somali agenda in mind. So therefore, we're ready as a government to reconcile with them, to talk to them. As far as other entities in Somalia, now we made a political outreach. We came here with all the Somali stakeholders to this London conference, not only the TFG, but regional administrations, moderate wings of the of religious organizations. So now we are moving into that direction. And we held 2 successful conferences, Garowe 1 and Garowe 2, in Puntland, an area which 6 months ago we were not even in good terms, in terms of we're not even having a association or coordination. So now all Somalis see that 20 years of this state is unacceptable, and therefore we are ready to move to the right direction.
And then you.
Pierre from AFP. Mr. Prime Minister, back to Ethiopia. Last week, some Ethiopian troops captured Baidao, an important city for the Shabaab. Would you actually welcome, or are you working on any plan to push foreign troops any further in the country and take the stronghold of the Shabaab, Kismayo?
Sure. Very good question. I would say not the Ethiopian troops. The TFG troops, with the help of the Ethiopia, have captured Baidoa. It's a difference. So it was captured by the TFG troops with the help of the Ethiopians. Yes, we are extending the safety zone and security to every part of the country under the control of Shabaab. Every city, every village, and every town in Somalia, we will not allow Shabaab to control it. So therefore, we are heading in the right direction, and also Kismayo and other cities will soon be in the hands of the TFG with the help of our neighbors, for sure.
My name is Hassan. I'm from Royal TV 24. I'd like to ask the Prime Minister, greetings from Somalia. A lot of Somali people say that the Prime Minister is in Norway because of RW Somalia was in Somalia, and there's an interest between these 2 countries about the Prime Minister is writing down for contracts for this country. Contracts about the constructions, and there's a special reason he's here. What do you say to Somali people about that?
Yeah, okay. I'm here for an official visit, And I'm here to talk to our friends of Norway who help us, who are here doing a great work in Somalia, in every aspect of it, in the area of the humanitarian situation, in development, in reconciliation and peace building. Norway is one of those countries that contribute to Somalia, as helping Somalia without conditions, with no conditions attached. And I'm not here to sign any private contract or any contract for that matter. I don't know what the contract they are talking about.
What can you tell about the gas or benzene where you get Somalians?
Hopefully, if there's oil or gas in Somalia, we will be able in the future, when we get peace and stability, to extract our mineral resources and our natural resources. And if Norway help us in the future in that regard, like any other country, then we welcome. But I'm not here to sign any oil contracts or oil deals at this moment.
I mean, I'm very glad you're bringing up this, because I heard this rumor within the Somali community here and abroad. So let me just say that this is completely false. I've been involved in peace process in other parts of the world, in Sri Lanka, in Sudan, in Nepal, and whenever there is a peace process, there are conspiracy theories, always. And there is, of course, my visit to Mogadishu is completely transparent. Everyone can get to know exactly what people I met and what we discussed. No, not at all. Frankly, at the moment, I doubt that a lot of oil companies are very eager to join into Somalia because of the political and violence problems there. So first, Somalia must be stabilized under Somali leadership. Then future Somali government can get into contracts with whatever oil company they may take an interest in.
I have another question.
Short follow-up.
Last week, the commander of the AU forces in Mogadishu said that Al-Shabaab was, I quote, close to collapse.
Sure.
What is your comment on that?
Shabaab, first of all, the ideology, the obnoxious ideology of Shabaab is alien to Somalis. Chopping off people's hands and limbs and heads willy-nilly is not a Somali ideology. It's not an Islamic ideology. It's a foreign ideology. And therefore, Shabaab lost the hearts and the minds of the Somali people, number one. And the reason they're collapsing, not only militarily, but also they really lost the hearts and the minds of Somali people. And with our security successes in Somalia, we are dealing with them, and they are on the run, and they are losing ground. They lost most of the major towns, Beledweyne in central Somalia, Baidoa in southwest, Mogadishu, the capital city. So they're losing territory, and they're losing the heart and the minds of Somali people. So sure, within the next few months, hopefully there will be no more Shabaab in Somalia.
Yes, the United Nations declared the hunger problems in Somalia to be over in the beginning of February. What would you say the humanitarian situation is for your people today?
No, they declared the famine is over, the drought. But that does not necessarily mean that people in need of assistance, disappeared. The famine, which was the worst in 60 years, has affected 4 million people. But still today, we have still 2 million people in Somalia who are in need of assistance. And moreover, those who are affected by the famine, now the drought is over, they have to go back to their homelands. Instead of being IDPs, internally displaced people in Mogadishu and other big cities. So we have to resettle them to their home of origin, back to their farms, and those who lost their livestock, we have to create an alternative livelihood for them. So this will be an ongoing work. So it's not over. The famine over doesn't mean that there is no people in need of assistance. We still have millions of Somalis who are in need of assistance for the foreseeable future.
Could you please introduce yourself as well?
Elizabeth Roden from Aftenposten. I wonder, there have been accusations that both warlords and also politicians may sabotage peace efforts because they have quite a lot to gain of the ongoing conflict. And I wonder what your comment is.
Absolutely, that's true. But we have to deal with them. And as I said, the era of warlordism in Somalia is over. And we have to make sure that these spoilers will not have their way and impede the peace process. So we Somalis will deal with them, but also with the help of the international community, we have to deal with these spoilers together, because Somalis have decided to move on. Somalis have decided to reclaim their country. Somalis have decided to chart a new road to peace and stability. And we will not accept from warlords or from anybody else to impede this process. And we will deal with them. But there are others who will always have interest in the status quo. There are war profiteers, people who profit from war, even including businessmen. There are others, warlords, who gain from the instability in Somalia. But 20 years is enough. We are sick and tired of this situation, and we are ready to move on.
Hege from Bistandsaktuelt. I would like for you to comment on the situation in Dadaab and how you are, if you have negotiations with Kenya and the refugee camp will be.
Yeah, Dadaab is a big refugee camp, the biggest in the world, with over 600,000 people. The majority of them, I think more than 90%, are Somalis. Somalis who left the anarchy and the civil war in Somalia. And this was a camp that was established in 1991, 20 years ago, as a transitional camp. So it took us 20 years. And it has grown to be the fourth, I think, or the fifth largest city in Kenya. And one is peace prevails in Somalia, one is stability prevails in Somalia. Hopefully they will go back and to their homelands. There are kids who are born in that refugee camp, and now they are 20 years old, 21 years old. They have known no other life except Dadaab, the refugee camp. So these are the people who are waiting us, Somalis and the international community, to help for them to return to their homes, to find peace in Somalia.
And one last question for you, Holland.
Mr. Prime Minister, I would like to ask an internal question. In London meeting, in the world, there's different countries who was in London to talk about Somali problems. And there's a Somaliland who was looking for independence for a long time now. And they was in the meeting and sitting there. And you say, the contract is, the point is that you're going to meet to Somaliland and talk to each other, let's see. Have you met somebody from the leaders from Somaliland while you was in London?
Yes, sure.
What is going to be in Somaliland?
You know, Somaliland is part of Somalia. First of all, we have a policy. That policy is the unity and the territorial integrity of Somalia is a sacrosanct. However, we cannot bring Somaliland back to Somalia or back by force. Nobody can do that. So the only option that we have is to have a dialogue with them. We have to having a dialogue with Somaliland, and we're very glad that they came to this conference. We haven't met formally, but we have met informally in the hallways because we are Somalis, and I myself, I have relatives in Somaliland. My cousins are in Somaliland. My nephews are in Somaliland. So we have to have a dialogue, peace, and dialogue with them.
What do you mean independence?
Let me finish, my brother. We have to show Somaliland that Somaliland will be better off being part of Somalia than being separate from us. You know, as I always say, a government is a social contract. You know, and you cannot enforce that contract by using force. They have to see, Somaliland has to see its interest in being part of United Somalia. And we have to make sure that they see that. And hopefully, I believe, now we have the EU, Europe is coming together, North America is coming together, the East African community is coming together. So Somalis also will be able to come together and united and in peace with each other.
Some closing comments from you, Minister.
No, let me just at the end point to a number of aspects which now give quite a lot of hope for Somalia. I mean, true, we have been through 20 years of enormous suffering. There is hardly any comparison in the world to the suffering in Somalia of this period, but I think there are lots of positives now. Number one is what we are talking about. I mean, true, I mean, Somalis have proven in Somaliland, in Puntland, in Mogadishu and the transitional government, they have proved very clearly that they can rule themselves with success, with a lot of input from the diaspora, positive input, but also with a very clear business entrepreneurial drive, which gives hope. And to bring all this together in a process, that's, I mean, the most important politically. Norway, of course, we have some of our deputy ministers have visited Somaliland. We are ready, obviously, to work with also Somaliland and Puntland and the others. And the future settlement for Somalia is not for us to decide, but for Somalia. But the political process is much more hopeful than it was. Adding to that, also the humanitarian situation is better. In Dadaab, last year, a number of people were coming from Somalia to Dadaab. Now it's reverse. I mean, there are more people leaving Dadaab, going back to Somalia, than the opposite, which is, I mean, still a huge, I mean, it's one of the biggest refugee camp in the world and one of the biggest cities in Kenya. So it will remain for every future as a big Kenyan city. But hopefully many more people will be able to come back. And though tens of thousands died in the famine, still an enormous amount of good work was done and saving life. So on that matter, there is now a much better situation. And finally, also bringing together all the military forces under one umbrella, strengthening the grip on Mogadishu, but also giving the prospect of greater military successes. All this is leading to a conclusion that compared to the past, I mean, there is quite a lot of hope in Somalia these days.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure.
barnaamijkaas waxaa kala socoteen nuxur media ama nuxur TV hadba sidaad u taqaanaa.
Yeah.